welcome to my tutorial. Probably had just about 80 people click off this video. Anyways, this is the supplies you need, and this is a fast one, so let's get started. I'm starting with a cardboard pizza box. I actually found this really nice because it's thin enough but thick enough to where it's sturdy but it's not too thick. I took my design and I sketched it out. I had made the design previously, so this was really easy. I finished sketching off camera because I didn't quite remember the design, and I split it up into these different sections so I had some depth. I cut off the section of cardboard I needed from the big piece of cardboard. Then I took each little section and made their own little piece. Then I properly cut them out. It's quite a process. You don't have to do it. I just found it easier to handle all the cardboard that way. Let's take a moment to look at the sheer amount of ingredients on this pizza. The character I'm basing this dragon off would not approve. To cut out the eye, I just kind of stab it with my scissors, and then I cut an X in it and cut out the rest of the eye. So while cutting out the eye, I accidentally ripped it, but I can just fix that with a little bit of hot glue. Now I'm going in with the rest of the pieces, trimming off any excess that I don't need, and just fitting and making sure I have everything I want. This was the moment I realized I completely forgot the bottom jaw. So I just went in and traced one, cut it out, and boom, now we have the bottom jaw. Making the other half of the dragon is really easy. You just place it on more cardboard. I didn't even flip mine over, you don't really need to, and trace it. When cutting it out, you want to make sure you cut on the inside of the pencil, because when you trace it, it goes slightly outside of the piece. So if you cut on the line of the pencil, it will be slightly bigger. Mine was slightly bigger anyways, but it didn't really cause that much of a problem. If you're really particular about it, maybe that's something you pay attention to. This piece of cardboard will go in between the two sides to make the dragon 3D in a puppet. So I took the face of the dragon, laid it down to how long I would want the piece to be, and then I made that twice as long, since it'll be both the bottom of the top jaw and the top of the bottom jaw. What I'm showing here is that essentially I'm using the ridges of the cardboard to make a straight line. Now I'm laying my hand down on the cardboard and tracing the width of my hand so that when I put the dragon puppet on, I'm not squinching my hand up. Now when I bend the piece in half, it makes the base part of my dragon. And I'm gonna trim it up so that it's straight and even, and then I'm gonna cut a little bit off the bottom jaw so that the bottom jaw can fit inside the top jaw. Now I'm gluing on the faces to the base. So I'm taking one face at a time, making sure it's lined up really nicely and exactly how I want it, and then I press and hold while it dries. Then I do the same for the other side, making sure that it is lined up the same. Now on the bottom jaw, I was testing to see if it was the right size, and I glued it on. I glued it on wrong the first time. I realized I needed a place for my thumb, so I just scraped off all the hot glue and I tried again. I found a suitable piece for the outside bits of my dragon, and I rolled it up so that it was easy to bend. I cut a straight line on one side of the piece of cardboard. I lined it up to see if it fit well, and it did. I drew a line slightly longer than necessary and cut that out. I made that straight. I marked a line where it needed to be cut on the other side, and I cut it out. Then I lined everything up, making sure it was nice and even, and I glued on both sides at the same time. Then I trimmed everything up, and I glued on both sides of the front at the same time and trimmed off the excess length. Now I am lining up all the pieces, gluing them on. If I missed a certain detail, I can figure it out while I'm gluing things on, cut them out, and glue them on during this process as well. One jump cut later, and we have a complete dragon. And I quickly added a support bar to the inside of the dragon so that I could easier hold it. I just cut the right length piece of cardboard and glued it on. Ah yes, a segment of what am I making? I have a time lapse of me making a prop for my dragon, and you guys have to try and guess what it is. Put a timestamp of when you figured it out. Okay guys, are you ready? It's a spoon. Yeah, it doesn't really make sense unless you know the context of this dragon. But anyways, I really like my spoon. It's very nice. I like how it's turned out. Time for painting. Painting is pretty straightforward. I don't really know if I need to do a tutorial part of this. I just took my design and painted it on the dragon. I will give you a few tips real quick though. Do it right first time, even though if it takes like a little bit extra time, because I had to go back so many times and just repaint something because I accidentally like got the white messed up or something, and I had to do like 5 layers of white to cover it up. But I just gessoed the whole thing and painted it. Also, this gesso shows the streak marks really well, so make sure that you get it nice and smooth if you're using the same gesso I am. I don't know. Anyways, he's done. Guess his name in the comments. And it's time for the final roll of coolness. When it comes to cooking, my ego's bigger than the flavor I pack in my mac and cheese.